Hello everyone and welcome back to CK3. I'm Lord Foreign. This time we've got a guide on interesting nations to play at 1066, non-independent nations. So these of course are nations that are not independent but are still kind of interesting and fun to play. We're going to start as one of the hardest ones here first, and then we'll go towards slightly easier ones. So the first really fun one to play, and some people have mentioned this before, I've seen it elsewhere, is this guy here, the Count of Vermandois? I have no idea, I don't speak French. He is the last of the actual Carlings at this point in history. He starts out with a one province thing. Unfortunately, he doesn't get all the splendor that being well known should give him. But it's very easy as him to grow in power, overthrow the King of France, and get the last Carling standing type achievement. The fun start, he's relatively protected up here. Yeah, in general, he's just kind of fun. If you ever want to try and take a guy and build up, he's at build up from nothing to get to king, and then maybe even to emperor within the same generation. He's a pretty good shot. You can pretty quickly fabricate a claim on France. France is amazingly unstable at this point in history for the AI. There's usually a lot of succession wars. Usually England gets involved, HRE gets involved. So wait till they've kind of gotten weak and conquer them that way. Also important to remember, you can expand within your realm here. So you can expand, take these provinces here, form this Duchy of Valois, and I think that's how you say it. And then pretty easily gain 4 or 5 provinces and then take over the Kingdom of France, and you'll actually be arguably in a better spot than the King of France is, because you'll have time to develop while he'll be fighting wars. So the next one, and we're going to have a couple up here in the HRE, is good old Duchess Matilda of Tuscany. It was also a very fun one to play in CK2, and it holds true in CK3. She is probably the strongest of the Italian dukes at this point. The only other one would be Lombardy up here, but they have the problem with their heir being the wrong dynasty. She controls a lot of lands. It's very easy for her to lead an independence movement with the other Italians, break free of the HRE, and she's in a pretty good position to form both the Kingdom of Italy if she conquers some lands, Rome Manga if she wants to usurp it from the Pope. Be a little bit aware of that. And then pretty easily go on to form Italy. So she's a fun one to play. Other ones in the HRE. Bohemia up here. Bohemia is a duchy that's the same size as the kingdom, pretty much. It's a little bit larger at this point in time. But you can form the Kingdom of Bohemia, be the only king within the HRE at the beginning of the game. And then you can lever yourself to more power there. You could invade Poland. You could try and break free. I wouldn't necessarily advise breaking free, though. It might be worth considering swapping your culture or creating a hybrid one, because Czech culture is one of the smallest in Europe. Next one in the HRE, Angria. This was on my 867 list, but it's worth mentioning again. They're a very, very large lord within the HRE, kind of the same size as Bohemia. They are Saxon, so you get all the Saxon fun. Given a little bit of effort, you can expand into these neighboring areas. Your real goal, in my advice, is should be trying to form either Germany or Pomerania, which are going to be the easiest ones. You could make a play for Frisia, though, thinking about it. Get a kingdom, and then you can think about independence. In the meantime, staying part of the HRE, probably a smart move. You don't control the most land up here, but you're heir to quite a few. So if you start murdering and assassinating people, you can gain quite a bit of land really quickly. So, yeah. You also have an heir, which is always nice. An heir who owns land. That is it for the HRE, I believe. So we're going to wander out of that, and we're going to head up here to Sweden. And we're going to talk about Prince Eric III, the Heathen of Sweden. He is one of the last strong pagan Norses in the area, considering he owns pretty much the last remains of it. So if you want to rebuild the Norse faith and just in general go back to the old ways of being a Viking, he's pretty much your best choice. He's very hard at this point because his lord is larger and there's a lot of Catholics around, but you can do it. It has been done, and if you can do it, it's quite fun, actually. So let's wander out of this area to of France. And this, of course, was in my other one. Duchy of Aquitaine has grown quite a bit. You're easily the strongest lord of France outside of the king. And, William the Conqueror, but he's got his own problems. It's very easy for you to break away or make a play for the throne of France yourself. Thankfully, the Kingdom of Aquitaine is a possible thing to form. But if you can snag France, it's very easy to form the Empire of Francia. So think of it however you'd like. It's usually easier to take over a kingdom from the inside rather than an outside unless you're way stronger. Also important to note, Brittany is only a duchy at this point in time, making them a lot easier to vassalize or conquer if you're king of France. But they can and they will go on to form Kingdom of Brittany pretty quickly. But it can be worth trying to kick them out early. And Aquitaine, being Aquitaine, it might be worth invading them early to pick up more land under your duchy. Make sure to disinherit and stuff though, just so that you keep your power base consolidated. Otherwise, it'll split apart into 5 or 6 duchies. The next one, we're actually going to wander over to... Okay, well, I'm drawing a blank. We're going to actually wander over to Hungary, where there's a very powerful lord of Transylvania who's of the same dynasty, but he is not the heir to the Kingdom of Hungary. But he's pretty easy for him to take it over, in all honesty. He's much larger than the actual king is. He has quite a few troops in himself. He's a little bit below the king in military strength, but remember, your king's military strength includes yours. So it's possible for you to take over, become king of Hungary, and then, expand to create the Empire of Carpathia. Just be aware that it's going to be tough. You're probably going to have to fight the Byzantines. You definitely have to fight these guys. But overall, it's a fun start. Any start where you can get a kingdom and be stronger than the starting king is usually quite fun to do. The next one, we're going to wander over to the Seljuk area. And we're not going to talk about the Seljuks, because I already did. We're going to talk about Khorasan. So the irony of this is you're actually a sultan within the larger empire. You are not the heir. Instead, someone else is the heir. But you can murder your way through power, or you can just stay building up your power strength as a king within an empire, which is always a fun and safe thing to do. One of the easier nations to actually get the achievement of having a higher splendor than your lord. Be aware, though, you are young. If you die here, the guy who inherits the Seljuk Empire gets it. So you could theoretically start as this guy, murder the Khorasan guy, and then inherit the Seljuk Empire in general, which would be a very viable thing to do. But if you don't want to do that, they're quite fun to play with an empire. You've got the Seljuks in general to protect you. You got some of their very fun culture stuff. Swords for Hire is worth mentioning because same culture, mercenary hire cost is nice. If you go down one of the military trees, you can get like 30% off that. It's really, really quite fun. And you get more mercenary cultures, you get more warrior cultures, you get horse archers, which are always fun. Yeah, they're just a fun nation to play within the Seljuks. I had quite a bit of fun expanding and conquering, some of which can be done semi-diplomatically. Other stuff you can do is you can also beseech your lord with the new royal court stuff to give you control of these vassals. Or they may give it control of the vassals to you if you get strong enough and they're worried about your opinion of them. That is also a thing. The next one to mention is... Oh my gosh, I seem to have lost where they are. Oh, here they are. This kingdom, one of the kingdoms most people don't ever talk about. Minja? I have no idea how to say it. This guy right up here. Yinai. The Duke of it. He's of a different faith and a different culture than his lord, but he is one of the largest in the areas. It's easy for him to lead an independence, break the king, or even you could probably even make a claimant, seize the throne, and then consolidate it here. Good portion of this land is actually of your culture. You can also diverge on the Han culture, which might be worth doing because the Han culture has some pretty cool stuff in general. But you've also got your culture alone is pretty good. Be aware, though, the religion is going to be a struggle for you because it's not very large and the holy sites involve you fighting other areas. But you have a nice prey down here in Tibet, which is not very united at this point in time. In fact, it's almost completely divided. Be aware, though, this guy over here will invade you if you get weak. In fact, wars between these guys here are quite common. But you are part of the Empire of Tibet, and if you gain control of the kingdom, you're in a very good position to invade it. I had great success doing, and starting as this guy, overthrowing the Lord and keep going. You could play the Lord, but I found his start to be rather rough. I think that's all of them. For some reason, I'm feeling like I've missed someone. Give me a sec here and I'll figure it out. Okay, got it. Inside the Fatimids, the Shia Fatimids, there is this guy, the Hashemids. The mid sounds pretty normal. You're actually of Sunni, and you control the holy sites, or at least some of them. Actually, control both of them at this point in time, of the Islamic faith. It's worth getting control of this. You get the great wonder there. You don't like your ruling lord. A lot of people don't like your ruling lord. You can form an independence faction, break out. If you break out, though, do be aware that the mighty Seljuks are there, but you would be in a pretty good position to invade the rest of your Arabia, seeing as if you're independent, you're quite powerful. Seljuks will collapse eventually, is my logic here. Or you could stay under your ruler, try and get the religiously protected stuff so he can't mess around with your religion, and then start conquering this area before you go for your independence. It's very easy to sweep down here into Yemen, form the Kingdom of Yemen, or sweep into Arabia, of which you control a fair amount of. Start, form the Kingdom of Arabia, and from then go on to form the Arabian Empire. It's just a fun start, getting independence as a duke in an area where there's multiple different Muslim faiths and religions, and that you can break free with ease. You could even make a play on the Sultanate here, or actually he's a Caliph because he's the head of the religion, but basically the Sultanate of Egypt. Gain control of that, then you can do whatever you want. You could gain control of the Fatimids, then join the Seljuks if you really want to, or vice versa. Actually, a really nasty tactic I used to kill the Seljuks was I conquered the Fatimids after conquering most of this area. I got their Sultanate, and then I joined the Seljuks, and then immediately started an independence faction, basically. And there were enough discontent lords and kings, Khorasan joined, that we splintered the Seljuks, and then I ate up all the pieces, got really close to the Arabian Empire with ease. So, a little bit of a difficult start, not hard to break free. Once you do, you're the strongest and largest duchy in the Arabian area. Just be aware of you're bordered by quite a few strong people. And that is in fact all for this guide. I know there's other interesting nations. If you do know them, by all means put them in the comments or make some statements. But hopefully this has given you guys some interesting people to play and why you should play some of them. It's not, you don't just have to go with the recommended characters, of which some of them are not particularly fun in my opinion. So hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys all another time. Bye for now.